When it comes to marijuana, we love to focus on the shiny side of the plant. It's fun and relaxing, it can promote creativity, stress relief, and better sleep for those with insomnia. It also ensures great times with friends. But while those are all worthwhile pursuits, I believe the harm far outweighs the good. Today, I would like to talk about what makes marijuana so alluring and the ways in which this plant actually works against those who use it, all while being disguised as medicinal. Second to alcohol, marijuana is the world's second most used mind-altering substance if we don't include caffeine and nicotine because of how much we have normalized their mind-altering properties. Check out these stats on the American market. Almost 1 out of 5 Americans currently smoke marijuana. For adult women in the US, it is 1 out of 3. The US cannabis industry is expected to reach almost $40 billion in 2024. So many of us grew up with parents who were taught that marijuana was either just as bad as heroin or a gateway drug to heroin. This was the era of Nixon's war on drugs and the infamous "This is your brain on drugs" commercials.
This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
This is how our parents were educated, or rather miseducated, about mind-altering substances. Naturally, these beliefs were passed on to many of us as children, but then many of us, upon discovering that we could smoke weed without really frying our brain, rebelled. Not only did we decide that weed was fine, but we first championed its legalization and then learned to fiercely defend its habitual use. Today, there are nearly 15,000 dispensaries in the US, and 4 out of 5 Americans live in a county with at least one dispensary. Now, this counter-reaction makes a lot of sense, and despite my, spoiler alert, less than warm feelings toward regular weed consumption, I am a supporter of legalizing it for an array of different reasons. In the US in particularly, mainly because of the way the prison system is set up here and the ways in which racial inequalities are at the center of the debate. Basically, if you're black, you have much bigger chances of ending up in prison for marijuana consumption. But at the same time, setting legality aside for a minute, I am deeply troubled by the lack of meaningful conversation around the very real downsides of consuming weed. Our generational backlash, however, has created an abundance of counterarguments. For example, it's just a plant, it's all good. Yeah, weed has tons of benefits and almost no downsides. Alcohol destroys your liver, your family, your whole life, but weed doesn't. Plus, it's being used as a medical treatment now. And look at the incredible properties of CBD, helping people with seizures even when strong pharmaceuticals have failed. See, I told you it was a medicine. It's all good. Whew, I'm glad we cleared that. But have we? If this were true, then this other statistic that estimates that 3 out of 10 people who use cannabis have a cannabis use disorder would also not be true. And honestly, my suspicion is that that number is low. Today, I will be giving you a perspective on cannabis that I don't really hear people talk about, and it is likely you never heard either. My unique insights come from working with over 10,000 people on their healing journeys, observing their relationships with marijuana, and hearing what they have shared with me. And as an ayahuasca practitioner, I am obviously not against mind-altering plants. In fact, that's quite the opposite. And I enjoy talking about this because it often makes people defensive at first, but once I explain, they usually say something like, "Oh wow, I never thought of it that way." So if you're feeling defensive, that's okay, I get it, and I will do my best to address that part of you too. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge any resistance you might feel if you are a marijuana user. I went through the same thing in the past when people would send me articles about the dark side of ayahuasca, a plant I love and I have dedicated my life to. I was resistant too, because when your identity is tied to something, challenging it feels like a personal attack. But the alternative, which was staying blind out of fear of that confrontation, was worse to me. I am grateful I was open to exploring ayahuasca's darker aspects as in-depth as I did, and today I am the first one to speak about them, and my channel is full of videos on that topic. By acknowledging the dark side, we can prepare ourselves and reduce harm. So, if you're a marijuana supporter, I hope that you will be open to its dark side too. That way, each time that you decide to use it, you will be doing so from a place of knowledge and not from a place of ignorance or denial. Ready? Let's dive in. Today, we will be covering these 7 topics. Let's start with the first one, marijuana's addictive properties. Okay, so first, can we please address the wild misconception that marijuana is not addictive? A common thing that I hear is that it is not addictive because it does not create withdrawal cravings like cocaine or opioids or even nicotine. This is the first way in which marijuana gets a free pass, which, as we will see, it gets many of them. Not only it is addictive, but I believe it is among one of the most addictive substances people use. There is a reason why it is the second most used mind-altering substance in the world behind alcohol. Here are some of the common examples of its addictive qualities that I have observed. A. Decades of daily or weekly use. In 2022, approximately 17.7 million people in the United States reported using marijuana daily or near daily. This represents a significant increase from previous years and marks the first time that daily or near daily marijuana use has surpassed daily alcohol consumption in the country. There are countless people who have smoked marijuana daily for decades, creating a significant impact on their lives. This long-term usage can lead to a sense of normalcy surrounding cannabis consumption, making it difficult for people to recognize the extent of their dependency. And then, over the years, this routine becomes so ingrained, often overshadowing the potential consequences and hindering personal growth. If weed wouldn't be so addictive, then it wouldn't be a normal thing to smoke it daily or weekly for decades. But almost all of us know several people who do so. B. Misconceptions of casual use. Another relevant aspect that makes this point more obvious is how many users say something like, "Well, I don't smoke often at all, just once a week," perceiving this frequency as minimal. However, this is a very deceptive mindset, as even once a week is a considerable amount of use. For most people, achieving a truly casual relationship with marijuana requires an enormous level of willpower and awareness. And not only this is often lacking, but also the fact that so much willpower is needed to achieve this casual relationship with the plant says a lot about its addictive qualities. This false sense of infrequency allows users to feel comfortable with their consumption, leading them to underestimate the plant's influence and the potential for dependency. C. High rates of dependency. A significant percentage of individuals who smoke marijuana find themselves caught in a cycle of constant use. As I said earlier, 3 out of 10 have a substance abuse disorder with the plant. Once they begin, the tendency to smoke becomes almost automatic, leading to habitual consumption that can be very difficult to break. In Europe, marijuana is most commonly consumed with tobacco in a spliff, adding the additional level of nicotine addiction to the mix. D. The idea that you can quit at any moment. For those who genuinely desire to eliminate cannabis from their lives, the journey can be incredibly challenging. If you are an avid marijuana smoker, you might even have a love-hate relationship with the plant, having tried to quit before, only to eventually come back to it with fresh defenses and reasonings around why you really need it. Many people struggle immensely, and for some, quitting seems almost impossible. And this part touches me personally. 2 of the people I love the most have been trying to quit for years. Both have done plenty of ayahuasca and other ceremonies around the intention to quit, and they still can't get it out of their lives. I can truly see their intentions and deep desires to quit, but looking in from the outside, marijuana's grip on them is much stronger than their willpower. This is something that I see almost daily with an array of different people. E. The demonic claws. Marijuana can grip people with what I have come to describe as demonic claws, making it difficult to break free from its grasp. One way this addictive quality manifests is through intrusive thoughts that users may mistakenly believe as their own, rationalizing their continued use. These thought patterns can create a cycle of justification, reinforcing the need to keep smoking and complicating the journey toward liberation from the plant's influence. Here's a good example. Imagine someone who uses marijuana to relax after work. At first, they only smoke on weekends, but soon they start thinking, well, a little bit on Wednesday night won't hurt. Then it becomes, I only smoke after work. Before they know it, They are smoking daily. Then the thoughts shift. Well, maybe I'll just take a hit before that meeting because it will help me focus. Eventually, they find themselves smoking in the morning, telling themselves it helps with anxiety. Each time, they rationalize it as no big deal, but the frequency increases and quitting feels harder. These are the thoughts I say are not theirs. Those intrusive thoughts are the plants. F. Not smoking for a week in preparation for ayahuasca. The biggest proof I've personally seen that marijuana is addictive is that many people in my ceremonies find the most challenging part of doing the preparation diet for ayahuasca is to spend a week without marijuana. For so many, that's much harder than a week without coffee, sugar, processed food, alcohol, sex, or meat. I've worked with so many participants who stuck to the diet rigidly but justified the weed because it was just a plant and really they were feeling anxious about the upcoming ceremony, so they needed the sleep. Once a person has become heavily reliant, especially the ones who do not smoke during the day but feel they absolutely cannot sleep without it at night, the process of quitting cannabis can be daunting, as the reliance creates a psychological barrier that makes the transition feel even more overwhelming. In the plant medicine world I operate in, this struggle can often lead to hesitations about even embarking on a healing path at all because, as I'll explain in a moment, ayahuasca and marijuana, though both seen as female plant medicines, work in completely opposite ways. Which brings me to my next point. 2. The distinction between releasing pain versus numbing pain. First off, I will occasionally compare certain aspects of marijuana with ayahuasca to get certain points across, as sometimes the comparison helps me bring some clarity. But mainly I would like to discuss marijuana on its own. The biggest distinction between these two plants is that ayahuasca teaches us that the only way to truly release pain is by moving toward it and feeling it as much as we are ready for, as that is needed in order to let it go. We all want to avoid pain, that's no real news. But there are two ways of doing that. Numbing it, which means that the pain is still there but we don't feel it, or releasing it completely so it's gone for good. Most of us don't care how we avoid pain as long as we avoid it, even if that pain is just mild discomfort, for example, not wanting to do taxes or feeling bored. But most of us also know that when you ignore something painful for too long, it only gets worse. After an ayahuasca ceremony, people often feel amazing because they have released the pain for good, gaining a sense of freedom, strength, and pride for having faced their pain and come out on the other side. Marijuana, on the other hand, works in the exact opposite way. Instead of confronting the pain and releasing it, it numbs it. Now, I know that a lot of people will say, well, I don't smoke to numb pain, I smoke because it's fun, because food tastes better, because sex feels better, or because I can sleep easier. But this leads to an important question, which is, why do these things need to be enhanced? What's wrong with how the food tastes? Or why can't you connect with your partner? Or why can't you sleep well to begin with? This is what makes weed so alluring. Listen to this. She convinces you that numbing equates to healing. The issue with any numbing mechanism, whether that is marijuana or even ibuprofen, is that they don't solve the root problem. If you have a headache every day and take ibuprofen, sure, the pain goes away, but the cause of the headache is still there. By numbing, we are avoiding the root cause, which keeps us from truly healing. Plus, the more we numb, the less urgency we will feel to address the real problem because in those moments, we are not in pain anymore. It is only in the experience of pain that a need to do something comes up. Pain, in a way, is our friend. It is our body's alarm system telling us that something is wrong, just like the check engine light in your car. If you cover up that light with a little sticker without fixing the car, pretending it didn't turn on, you are basically asking for bigger problems later. Take insomnia, for example. Someone might smoke weed just to sleep, but the underlying issue, whether let's say it's anxiety or work stress, the more you numb the pain, the less likely you are to address the real cause. And that stress can later on lead to serious health issues like heart disease or depression or chronic fatigue. The numbing mechanism allows the problem to persist while keeping you unaware of the growing consequences. Think about it this way. Without the numbing mechanism, you most likely would have a much bigger sense of urgency for truly healing your anxiety or finding a job that doesn't stress you out. Each time we numb instead of heal, we reinforce a neural pathway that tells us it's okay to not deal with pain, making us more likely to use other numbing mechanisms and less capable of holding pain in the future. And this reduces our ability to handle discomfort, meaning that we'll seek the quickest solution, which is numbing, instead of finding a permanent fix. Over time, this chips away at our power. Here is the paradox. The more we build our capacity to hold pain, the less painful things become. Most of the discomfort does not come from the pain itself, but from our resistance to it. By expanding our capacity to hold pain, we become better equipped to deal with all forms of pain, physical and emotional. Here's a thought. Since life will always be throwing challenges at us, isn't developing this skill one of the most valuable things we could do? Ironically, the more we try to avoid pain by numbing it, the more painful life becomes, because we have not trained our capacity to hold pain. It's a cycle. Low capacity to hold pain, need to numb, temporary relief, reinforce that numbing is okay, reducing our capacity to hold pain even more. With that being said, I am not entirely against numbing. We will cover how to use it wisely in point number 7. Now let's move on to our third point. Third, the contracts we sign with marijuana and their level of clarity. Every time we consume a psychoactive substance, we are entering into a contract with it. In exchange for what it gives us, it asks for something in return. This balance is clear with many substances. Take alcohol, for instance. You get to forget your problems, loosen up, or have fun with friends. But in return, you might pay with a hangover, liver toxicity, and potential addiction. The deal here is clear. There is no fine print. With heroin, the clarity of the contract is starker. You get to experience 1,000 bodily orgasms all at once, but the cost is withdrawal, dependency, and a quick descent into devastation. Even ice cream has its contract. You enjoy it, but in exchange, you might get sugar crashes, and if you eat too much, you will likely gain weight. What about ayahuasca? Yes, the contract is transparent too. You receive clarity, healing, and deep emotional release, but you have to give something first. Your willingness to confront traumas, fears, and the discomfort that comes with purging emotions. You also have to surrender to a high level of vulnerability. Purging in front of strangers and later sharing your deepest thoughts in a circle can be extremely difficult for some people. This is why many people avoid ceremonies. They know exactly what ayahuasca asks, and it is something that they might not be ready to give. Marijuana, on the other hand, operates differently. It is much sneakier. The benefits it offers are presented in large print. Fun, relaxation, better sleep, enhanced experiences, but the trade-off, basically what it asks for in return, is hidden in tiny, almost invisible print. It is important to note that I am not saying that there isn't a use for marijuana. It can have a place, but if people knew what they were truly signing up for, they might think twice about it, and at the very least, they would know what contract they are getting themselves into. Most people think the contract with marijuana is one where they receive without having to give anything, and that simply cannot be true. One of marijuana's tricks is that she doesn't let you know that she will be asking for things later. Unlike ayahuasca, who's very upfront about the work that she demands, marijuana keeps her requests quiet and sneaks them in over time. Finally, when you start seeing the tricks and tools that she uses, which there are plenty of, it becomes very clear to me that this plant is not operating in your best interests. All of that while creating an inner feeling that you must defend not only her use, but her. People often bring valid arguments in her defense. For example, well, so many people can control their seizures with it. Yeah, but that is because of the CBD, not the THC. Well, it means that it has medicinal properties then. Exactly, though people aren't really seeking those medicinal properties. They are seeking the THC. The fact that it has medicinal properties is one more excuse that people use to give her a free pass. These are all tools in her toolbox to make herself more acceptable, making us believe that she's good for us. In a way, alcohol is less dangerous because the spirit of alcohol does not hide or mask itself as a healthy thing or a medicine. Alcohol is very clear. You will numb your pain, maybe have fun, maybe be more social and less inhibited, but you will pay with a hangover, your liver health, and addiction. You already know that, right? So if you want to make the deal, that's what alcohol offers and what it asks in return. To me, that's not really a good deal, honestly, but at least you know the deal up front. Now, in contrast with alcohol, the contract with weed is so much more vague. It's like this little voice saying, it's a medicine, it's all okay, it doesn't do anything to your brain, it's not physically addictive like cocaine, so basically you can stop whenever you decide. To those of you who smoke regularly, does that really feel true to you? Most of weed's problems are hidden from you. It's all in the small print, and that is what makes it so dangerous. It is easy to underestimate how slowly your life stops being yours and starts being owned by her. Basically, she hands you a fake contract to read, and once you're in, you blindly sign the real contract. Every time that you smoke, you give a little bit of your willpower away. It happens so subtly that you might not notice. This is part of her genius. If she would take it all at once, its dangers would be clearer, and that would go against her intentions of not being noticed so that she can take more and more from you. However subtle this giving of your willpower is, over time you become more and more dependent and more prone to reach for the joint to enhance something as simple as a meal or a moment of relaxation. And with each use, you are less inclined to enjoy those things without her. She takes from you in ways that are hard to detect, and before you know it, you've signed up for a deal that you never fully understood. 4. The mechanisms that marijuana uses to keep you under her spell. So, what does this plant really want? Well, unlike alcohol and heroin, marijuana is very sneaky in how it drains your life force and willpower. One of her tricks is offering a great deal at first. Basically, you give very little and she gives you a lot. But over time, she starts asking for more while giving less, leaving you feeling like you need more to get what you used to get before. It's actually a clever cycle. The more you use it, the less that you get, and the more you crave, trying to chase those early enjoyable effects. And eventually, you are stuck negotiating with her, leading to heavier use and dependency. What makes this tricky is that you often don't realize how much she is taking from you. This is important. Many heavy users only understand the toll it's taking on their life after stepping away for a while. Sure, some of you might think, that's not me. But the truth is, you might simply not know until you are fully free from her spell, which can create discomfort when confronting these truths. You usually need, at the very least, 6 months to really have her far away enough for you to realize how much of a hook she had on you. And that's another one of her tricks. Marijuana has a way of making people identify with her so deeply, leading to strong emotional defenses against any form of criticism. Basically, you could discuss the dark sides of ice cream or soda without much backlash, but mention weed and you will see how fiercely people protect it. This is by itself a big warning sign to me. If you're a heavy user, take a moment to reflect on how this discussion makes you feel. Are you feeling defensive? Are you feeling challenged? By recognizing these mechanisms, you may find a path to break free and realize, with no shame, just how much of yourself you are giving away to this spirit. I want to repeat, there is no shame on this. It is not your fault. It is just simply how this spirit operates. When we invite a spirit into us, we are subject to what that spirit does. When we invite it in, that is the moment when we are signing the contract. So, let's make the contract very clear. I, marijuana, promise to fill in the gaps left by your unmet emotional needs, help you cope with any pain, emotional, physical, or related to sleep, anything preventing you from experiencing true joy, make you more creative and enhance your enjoyment of already enjoyable things so you can deal with what's causing you to seek this enhancement in the first place. Give you less with each encounter, increasing your cravings for what I used to provide, making you more likely to return. In exchange, you promise to gradually give me part of your willpower, light, and life force with each meeting. Become less inclined to engage in meaningful healing. Desire my company more frequently, allowing me to absorb more of the light that you have to offer. Accept whatever little I end up giving you as our relationship progresses. Defend me fiercely, often reacting emotionally when I am criticized. Well, that's the contract. How does it feel like now when things are not hidden from you? That's why it's called weed. Her nickname is not a coincidence. What is a weed? A weed is a type of plant that sucks all of the resources of all the plants around it, weakening them by leaving them without nutrients. And that is the spirit that you are bringing in, inviting her to start sucking up all the resources around where it is planted like a true weed. But it happens that you are planting it inside of yourself. When considering any contract in life, ask yourself, are you truly willing to give what's being asked in return? You actually cannot know the answer to this question unless A, you fully understand what you're giving up, which marijuana does not lay this out clearly, making informed decisions difficult. And B, you make sure that your decision is coming from a healed place and not a wounded one. Marijuana often exploits our wounds, making it less clear if we are operating from a healed place or not, and leading us to make decisions that don't benefit our well-being. Honestly, based in my experience working with many people, interactions with marijuana are rarely approached consciously. Fifth, common counterarguments. Okay, at this point, I imagine several of you have some counterarguments in mind, and I would like to address those too. If I don't one of yours, leave me a note in the comment section. Here are some of the most frequent counterarguments that I hear. First, but isn't it just a plant with proven benefits? Yes, it is a plant, but those benefits come with specific intentions, which are to drain your life force. Whether it successfully does so depends on your level of consciousness. If you reach a level of healing where you are less susceptible to her influence, her power will diminish significantly, but so does the extent of what she will offer to you. Second, but it's a plant. It comes from nature. Well, just because it comes from nature doesn't mean it's good for you. Many plants can be harmful or even deadly. Plants basically can serve as vessels for various spirits. It's like they are their little house. Some of them are beneficial and some are detrimental to our well-being. A spirit that makes you act in ways that go against your own well-being is how I define a demon. I made a full video on the topic of demons, explained in a very grounded and scientific way, which you can check up here or in the description below. Third, but isn't she here to teach us something? No, her intention is not to teach. While you can definitely gain insights from the experience, which I certainly did, those lessons are not her primary goal. This is similar to saying that an abuser is there to teach you a lesson. Yes, you might learn something about your boundaries, but the abuser's intention is not pure. Furthermore, the abuser might be really nice to you at first and offer you a lot of good things as his strategy to lure you in. Last, some people may learn from their experiences with marijuana, while many others just simply won't. Fourth, I only smoke to sleep. I've had insomnia my whole life. If you had my life, you would smoke a joint every night too. Trust me. If you're someone who suffers from insomnia or bad nightmares and uses weed as a coping mechanism, I get you. I know how hard sleepless nights can be. And if you only smoke to sleep, it is very likely that you have a love-hate relationship with marijuana, having understood that on some level smoking all day is not good for you. But you are held captive to this sleep routine. But this is pointing to a bigger underlying wound that needs healing. Something is not working properly if you cannot sleep without weed, and while that is okay, it does not mean that smoking nightly does not have all the negative consequences that we talked about, or that the real root cause of the insomnia cannot be addressed and released. Smoking weed to address it will only mask the problem. Real healing to insomnia is available. It is possible, but it will become harder and harder to find the more that we mask the problem. Next we have, well, I could be doing a whole lot worse. If I went to a psychologist, they would prescribe me a bunch of pills, and at least I'm not a drinker. This is one of the defensive arguments I hear most from people who have done a lot of healing and still need marijuana to numb. Hang on in there, because in a little bit, I will address the times that I do think it's okay to use marijuana and how to use it as a momentary stepping stone toward real healing. Next we have, but it has medicinal properties. We already talked a little bit about this, but while it may possess some medicinal qualities, calling it a medicinal plant can be pretty misleading. She utilizes those properties to appear beneficial, but the ultimate effects often go against true healing. A true medicine fosters self-discovery, sovereignty, independence, and improved willpower, qualities that marijuana ultimately undermines. Just for comparison, ayahuasca invites you to discover your own power and learn how to navigate your challenges independent of the plant. Ayahuasca basically wants you not to use it. A common thing that people discover with her is something that goes like this. Oh, I get it. I needed to drink you to understand that I didn't need to drink you, as everything that I was looking for was already inside of me. At every step along the way, she's trying to equip you with tools for healing. And this fosters independence and self-empowerment. And in contrast, marijuana says something like, come to me for an escape and I will help you avoid dealing with your real-life issues. This dynamic fosters dependency rather than empowerment. It only helps mask your problems, leading to addiction. Most of her tricks involve offering something enticing to engage you in a deal. That's why she presents her medicinal properties, especially those related to CBD. Which, let's be very clear here and not forget that those are the strains that are often hybridized out by most growers, and surprise, surprise, those are the ones that happen to not be addictive. Ultimately, these are some of the many tools that she uses to hook you and drain your life force. Alright, my sixth point is related to the emergence of so-called conscious cannabis. Recently, some conscious marijuana ceremonies have been popping up here and there. And I have to say that I immediately felt suspicious about the level of consciousness involved, because one of the effects of this plant is to dull awareness. So how can a plant that promotes numbness also be used to enhance consciousness? I eventually met two of these facilitators. Now, to say that they were unaware would be pretty generous. They exhibit a staggering level of numbing and a profound lack of awareness regarding their practice. When I asked them a few questions, it was very clear that they had no idea what a ceremony for awareness entailed. They couldn't even name two negative effects of the plant that they were using when I asked them. Now, I am not suggesting that every individual who works with this plant is unaware. Of course, there are exceptions. However, in this particular case, I knew more about the plant than the self-proclaimed conscious cannabis facilitators. They were smoking it throughout our whole meeting, even while driving, showing a complete lack of conscious use. We will get to what conscious cannabis consumption actually looks like in a moment. But in case anyone needs to hear this, gathering 10 people in a circle and declaring that now we are going to smoke this consciously does not make it a conscious experience. It actually only leads to further unconsciousness, as people will delude themselves into thinking that they are fostering awareness while using it as an excuse to avoid doing the work. And this brings me to my last point today. 7. How to actually use it. Once you're fully aware of the deal that you're signing, you can decide to use weed sporadically from an empowered place. But we have to be very careful here, as the plant has a way of making you feel that it is okay to repeat the experience. The more you do it, the less important it feels to stop. Even I, who I am quite wary of this plant and I advocate strongly against her use, find myself tempted after just one use, thinking something like, well, maybe I could do it just one more time. In those moments, I have to remind myself, I see you, marijuana. I see the thoughts that you're putting in me. You cannot trick me. I say this because despite the different fun and positive experiences a very occasional weed use can give us, I think there are really only two viable reasons to use weed. First, conscious numbing. If you're having a really hard time and simply cannot tolerate your life, or are struggling with deep depression or chronic stress that is simply unbearable, or deep insomnia where you just can't sleep at all, using weed as a conscious numbing mechanism can help you buy some time while you search for real healing. Let me highlight that. As you search for real healing. It is important to note that this is not a replacement for healing. Conscious numbing means that you are aware that you're about to numb, and that creates a desire to truly heal while giving yourself permission to numb without shaming yourself. Think of it like anesthesia. It helps you not feel pain while you're in the middle of surgery, but the anesthesia itself is not the cure. The same happens with numbing. It is not the cure. It is there to help you not feel pain while you seek for real healing. Just be cautious. Numbing can make you less inclined to seek genuine healing, which may lead to repeated use. And while it may help you gain some time, simply remember that every time that you numb, you might be avoiding the pain that could drive you toward real recovery. The second reason to use weed consciously is a CBD strain for medical benefits. CBD can provide benefits similar to taking a painkiller or relaxant. It may help some people sleep or even calm down. If you are a cancer patient, for example, or terminally ill, or have an autoimmune disease for which marijuana provides some relief, I think that a high CBD marijuana strain can be extremely helpful. CBD is especially beneficial for people with seizures. Now, while it will not heal them, it helps control the symptoms, making life a little bit more manageable. However, please remember that if you are consistently consuming it to alleviate medical conditions without understanding or knowing their underlying cause, this becomes simply another form of numbing. Conclusion. Okay, we are close to the end. Thank you so much for watching all the way here. I've actually been wanting to make this video for a very long time, and the reason it has taken me so long to share these thoughts isn't just that I have a lot to say, but also that I feel that I need to be so careful with my words. This topic evokes strong emotions in those who use marijuana, risking them closing up and not wanting to listen. I wanted to make sure that I did a good job. Acknowledging the complexities of our relationships with these substances is vital for true healing. And I don't ask for this very often, but I will this time. Please share this video with as many people as you can. And this is not for my own personal gain or getting a bunch of likes or whatever. I see a lot of conversations about the benefits of marijuana and very few about what we are truly engaging in when we consume this plant. I would like to be very honest with you. I am pretty concerned about the consequences to our general healing as a society the bigger the consumption of marijuana is and the effect that it ultimately has on people and communities. I really hope this video can reach as many people as possible. You can get the summary of this video completely for free, put together beautifully in a PDF, so that you can refresh your memory around the topics presented here anytime that you want. To get it, check out the link in the description below. Oh, and by the way, this is a two-part series. Today, I focused mostly on facts from a very grounded place. Next week, my focus will switch to the more spiritual thoughts that I have on the subject. One video that you can watch in the meantime in preparation for that one is the one that I was talking before, where I explain demons from a more scientific and grounded perspective. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next week for part 2 on marijuana. Bye.